The first sign that something was wrong came quietly. Not a fight. Not a phone call. Just a text. Mom's been coming over to help clean. Don't worry about rushing back. First it sounded innocent, even thoughtful. After 3 straight days of back-to-back presentations, late-night dinners and endless small talk, I was too drained to read between the lines. I smiled, typed "Thanks, honey," and collapsed into bed at my hotel. That text should have been my first red flag. The second one was impossible to miss. When my taxi turned onto our quiet cul-de-sac, I froze. The street was packed. Cars everywhere. Music floating in the air. For a second, I thought the neighbors were having another one of their block parties. But then I saw it. My house. Covered in white roses. Ribbons hanging from the porch. A floral arch framing the front door like something out of a bridal magazine. My heart thudded. White roses. Ribbons. An archway. Dragging my suitcase behind me, I climbed the steps and unlocked the door, my hands trembling. And then, I gasped. The home I had designed, clean lines, soft tones, calm simplicity, was gone. In its place stood a wedding venue. White silk draped across the walls. Fairy lights sparkled from every corner. The air smelled of roses and expensive catering. "Hello," I called. Footsteps clicked on the hardwood. And then she appeared. Diana. My mother-in-law. "Olivia," she exclaimed, smiling wide. "You're early." She looked radiant. Dressed in a designer gown, hair perfectly styled, makeup flawless. Radiant. Or maybe performative was the word. "The conference ended early," I said carefully. "What's going on here?" "Oh, darling," she began, hands clasped in excitement. "I decided to take matters into my own hands. You're always so busy, always away. And my poor David has been so lonely. I couldn't stand by any longer." My stomach dropped. "Where's David?" "Getting fitted for his tuxedo, of course," she said cheerfully. "Amanda's family recommended a wonderful tailor." My pulse stopped. "Amanda." Her smile brightened. "Yes, Amanda Porter. His high school sweetheart. Isn't it wonderful?" She moved back after her divorce, and when I saw her at the country club, I just knew it was fate. They were perfect together, young love, family values. She's exactly what David needs. I grabbed the banister to steady myself. "Diana," I managed. "What have you done?" "What you forced me to do," she said smoothly. "The divorce papers are on the kitchen counter. Everything's fair and simple. You can keep your career, and David can finally have the family he deserves." Ice crawled through my veins. I walked into the kitchen, or what used to be my kitchen. Now it looked like a catering prep zone, filled with trays and champagne glasses. And there it was, a thick envelope with my name on it. "You can't be serious," I whispered. "Oh, but I am," she said sweetly. "The ceremony's tomorrow. Just close family and friends. Amanda already has her dress, she's glowing. Not like you in those corporate suits." I looked down at my travel-wrinkled blazer. For a second, I almost felt out of place, like a stranger in my own home. Then I remembered something. The cameras. After Diana's uninvited visits earlier this year, I had installed a full home security system. Cameras in every room. As she kept talking, I opened the app. And there it was, hours of footage. Diana directing movers. Telling them which of my clothes to box up. Laughing with Amanda as they removed my paintings. Trying on my dresses. Not once did David appear. "Have you even spoken to your son about this?" I asked coldly. She hesitated. "Well, not exactly. But once he sees how perfect everything is." "Perfect." I cut in, laughing sharply. "You broke into my house. You planned a wedding without the groom's consent and invited his ex-girlfriend. Which part of that is perfect, Diana?" Her smile faltered for the first time. "I didn't break in. I have a key. David gave it to me, for emergencies." "This isn't an emergency," I snapped. "The emergency," she fired back, "is my son's marriage falling apart while his wife runs around chasing speeches and promotions. He had dinner alone on your anniversary. Did you know that?" My chest tightened, then I straightened. "No, he didn't. We celebrated early because I had a product launch. We both agreed to postpone. You can check his photos." She sneered. "A postponed anniversary in my day." "In your day," I interrupted, "women weren't allowed to have dreams." That cracked her mask. For a moment, the elegant composure vanished. A wife's place, she said tightly, is with her husband. And a mother's place, I said softly, is knowing when to stop controlling him. Silence filled the room. The faint hum of fairy lights buzzed above us, the sound of her perfect illusion falling apart. The surprise wedding. Rewritten version. My place, I replied evenly, unlocking my phone, is wherever my husband and I decide it should be. I tapped a video clip and held it up. Her own voice filled the room. Pack up all her things. If she wants them, she can get them from storage. Amanda has better taste anyway. Her face went pale. You've been spying on me? No, I said flatly. I've been protecting my home. Her jaw tightened. He's too kind to stand up to you, you know. Always defending your late nights, your travel, your work. Someone had to step in. Someone like his mommy? I smiled sweetly. Should we call him now? Maybe he'd like to hear about your little wedding plans. As if on cue, my phone buzzed, David's face lighting up the screen. Perfect timing, I murmured. Turning the screen toward her, I asked, should I tell him or do you want to? Don't you dare, she hissed, lunging forward. I stepped back and answered. Hi, honey, I said brightly, putting it on speaker. You'll never guess what I found when I got home. There was a pause, then David's voice low and sharp. Is Mom there? Right here, I replied, watching her eyes widen. Good, David said. Would you like to tell her what you just told me? Or should I? Her painted smile faltered. Sweetheart, I just got a call, he cut in, from Amanda Porter's ex-husband. He says you promised her my inheritance if she went along with this plan. That's not, Not what you said, I interrupted calmly, when you offered her the beach house and access to the trust fund, because I have that on video too. You recorded me? She screeched. In my house, I replied evenly. Yes. Just like I recorded you boxing my clothes and promising Amanda my closet when David came to his senses. David, she whimpered. I was only thinking of your happiness. My happiness? His voice cracked like a whip. You tried to marry me off behind my wife's back. You offered money that isn't even yours. The trust fund is for family, she pleaded. Olivia is family. David roared. She's my wife. My partner. The woman I chose. Not Amanda, not anyone else. And that trust fund, grandfather left it to me. You had no right to promise it away. Diana's shoulders sagged, her perfect posture crumbling under the truth. But she's never home, she whispered. Always working. Because we're building a life together. David snapped. Those late nights you hate? She's developing medical software that could save thousands of lives. Those conferences? She's presenting research that might change medicine forever. I'm proud of her, even if you can't understand that. Tears streaked through her expensive makeup. I just wanted to control everything, I finished quietly. Like you always do. Her lips trembled. But here's what's going to happen now, I continued. You're going to call Amanda and tell her the wedding is off. You'll cancel every vendor, every deposit. And you'll do it before David gets home. An hour, she gasped. Yes, David confirmed. I'm at the airport. And Mom, when I get home, we're having a long overdue talk about boundaries. Her eyes darted around the room, finally seeing what she'd done. The flowers, the decorations, the mock altar. Reality hit. But all the deposits, the arrangements. Your problem, I said smoothly. Just like explaining to Amanda why she's not getting that trust fund. And Mom, David added. Amanda's ex-husband is very interested in that promise you made. Turns out offering money you don't own to push a marriage isn't exactly legal. Diana sank into a chair, her designer dress wrinkling. I was only trying to help. No, I said softly. You were trying to destroy my marriage because you can't stand that your son is happy with someone who doesn't fit your fantasy. I'll call everyone, she murmured shakily, pulling out her phone. Just please don't tell your father. Too late, David said. Dad's the one who warned me about your lunch with Amanda. He's also the one who suggested Olivia install those cameras. Her eyes widened in disbelief. Richard. He's finally had enough, David replied. People change, Mom. Maybe it's time you did too. I ended the call. Silence filled the room. For a long moment, Diana just stared at her phone, like it was a snake ready to strike. Finally, she whispered, "I should start making calls." "Yes," I said, walking to the door. "And when you're done, I'll need my house key back. The one for emergencies. Consider this your last." She stopped in the doorway, glancing once more at the dismantled dream she'd built. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "I really did think I was doing the right thing." "I know," I replied, surprising myself with a trace of sympathy. "That's what makes it so sad." As she walked to her car, I began documenting the house. Every decoration, every box, every detail. Something told me we might need proof of all this later. The caterers looked up uncertainly as Diana's car pulled away. "Mrs. Matthews said to wait for final instructions," one said. "Pack it up," I replied firmly. "The wedding's off. And if she ever tries to hire you again for this address, call me first." They nodded and got to work dismantling the setup. I moved through the rooms, taking notes of everything that needed restoring. But as I stood there, surrounded by half-finished chaos, one truth settled deep inside me. Normal would have a new meaning now, one with stronger boundaries, tighter locks, and maybe a therapist on speed dial. My phone buzzed. A text from David, 20 minutes away. "Love you." I smiled faintly as I typed back. "Love you too. But we're getting a new emergency contact." His reply came almost instantly. "Already handled. Dad volunteered." I actually laughed out loud, picturing Diana's expression when she realized her quiet husband had completely outmaneuvered her. Sometimes the best surprises aren't the ones carefully plotted behind closed doors. They're the moments when people finally reveal who they truly are. When David walked through the door 40 minutes later, most of the wedding decorations had already been cleared away. He paused, taking in the remnants of chaos, then pulled me into a tight embrace. "I'm so sorry," he whispered into my hair. "I should have seen this coming." "We both should have," I murmured, melting into his warmth. He exhaled, eyes sweeping over the ghostly remains of Diana's failed plan. Fairy lights still twinkling mockingly, white ribbons fluttering like surrender flags. "Mom's been escalating for months," he said quietly. "Dad told me she's been meeting with Amanda for weeks, planning all this." "He's known for a while." I blinked. "He has." David ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit he'd never outgrown. "He's been keeping tabs on her since that Christmas incident. You remember? When she announced to everyone that you were too focused on your career to give her grandchildren." How could I forget? Diana had delivered that little speech in front of the entire family, complete with statistics about fertility dropping after 35. "Dad said he's never seen her this obsessed," David continued. "She actually believes she could make me leave you and marry Amanda in 3 days. The power of positive delusion," I muttered, picking up a discarded wedding program. My stomach twisted as I read the cover. The union of David Matthews and Amanda Porter. David took it from me and tore it clean in half. "Amanda called me," he said. "She claims Mom promised her the beach house and half the trust fund if she could rescue me from my loveless marriage." "Loveless?" I laughed, disbelief bubbling up. "Is that what your mother's been telling people?" He nodded, rolling his eyes. "Apparently, working women can't possibly have time for love. Mom's been spinning this whole narrative about me being miserable with a career-obsessed wife who's never home." For a second, guilt pricked at me, but David caught my expression and shook his head firmly. "Don't," he said. "Don't let her get in your head. I love your ambition, your brilliance. Everything that makes you who you are. Even when you're away, especially then. Because I know you're out there changing the world." He smiled. "And don't forget who supported me through 3 years of night school for my MBA. We make it work." I returned his smile. "We do. Which is why I've made a decision." He pulled an envelope from his jacket. Not divorce papers this time, but something that made my eyes widen as I read. "You're selling the beach house?" "Already sold," he said. "The deal's done. The papers just need my signature." My breath caught. "But you love that house." "I love you more," he said simply. "Besides, the money's going to fund something much better." I frowned, curious. "What?" "Your medical software startup. The one you've been dreaming about but never asked me to invest in." I stared at him, speechless. That house had been in his family for generations. It's time for new traditions, David said gently, starting with setting real boundaries with my mother. As if on cue, my phone buzzed with a text from Diana. Everything's cleared up. I'm sorry for how things went. David glanced over my shoulder. Wow, he said. Mom actually apologizing. Think it'll last. Probably not, I sighed. Maybe, he admitted. But things are going to change. Dad's putting his foot down. She either starts therapy or loses access to the family accounts. My eyebrows shot up. Richard's finally had enough? Apparently, trying to break up our marriage was the last straw, David said with a grin. Who knew Dad had it in him? We spent the next hour restoring the house, putting furniture back, taking down leftover decorations, erasing every trace of Diana's grand plan. When I hung my favorite painting back on the wall where the altar had been, David called from the kitchen. Hey, look what Mom left behind. He held up an ornate wedding cake topper, a little bride and groom in perfect pose. We looked at each other and burst into laughter. Should we keep it as a souvenir? He asked. Actually, I grinned. I've got a better idea. The next morning, a package arrived at Diana's house. Inside, the cake topper broken neatly in half. Attached was a handwritten note. Next time, try therapy instead of wedding planning. Love, your career-obsessed daughter-in-law. Minutes later, David's phone rang. His father was laughing so hard he could barely breathe. In the background, Diana's indignant sputtering made it even better. Worth it? David asked. So worth it, I said, unpacking my conference notes. Tell me about the presentation, he said, settling beside me. The one that kept you from your surprise wedding. I smiled and began telling him everything. About the new patient care protocols, the innovations, the dream I was chasing. Because this us was what marriage was supposed to be. A partnership of equals. Shared dreams. Mutual respect. No surprise weddings. No manipulative mothers. Just love, real, steady, earned. As for Diana, she started therapy the following week. Not because she wanted to, but because Richard finally learned to say no. Sometimes the best family traditions are the ones you break, so that something healthier has the chance to grow in their place.